because I'm trying to figure out whether I need to turn this up or
Keep
not
touching
for
that.
me.
Keep turning it. Turn it more.
Okay. Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
And today Mike is going to talk to us about school.
Yay,
Let's
we're
go
going
back to school.
Yay, back to school, back to schools. I'm going to talk about public school versus Catholic school in Ontario.
Okay.
And the premise is, should we continue to fund the Catholic School Board as it stands now in Ontario?
No.
It's a premise, overall question. Maybe I can change Adam's opinion. Maybe we can talk about different options, but we'll see.
Okay. I will rephrase my opinion by saying, let's get rid of the separate school boards for the Catholic schools and just roll them into the regular public school system. Because then they can just be funded the way that the public school system is by the government already.
Okay, let's get some details down first, and
All
then
right.
we'll go there. Okay. We need to know why does Ontario have a Catholic school board funded and only Catholic, like no other denominations? Do you know why?
Racism.
Racism. No. Because of Lower and Upper Canada.
Yes, I know.
Because when we were trying to do Confederation back in 1867, one of the things that was agreed upon was called the Great Compromise. It's important. Don't ask why.
It's a great compromise.
Well, that's what it is.
Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it.
Okay, and it was that Ontario would have Catholic schools and Quebec would have Protestant schools.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay,
All right.
and that was how they agreed upon it.
But does Quebec still have Protestant schools?
Note.
Okay. That seems to be in my favor then.
Now, at the time, because of the nature of schools at that time, it was really only elementary schools.
Yeah.
That was applicable. They weren't called elementary schools at the time, but ease of sake, it's elementary schools.
Okay. That same kind of like age of children, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1984, the government of Ontario at the time decided to open up funding for the public and Catholic school boards to make every student on an equal plane, because they weren't.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And that secondary schools would also get funding, but there was a little bit more restrictions on the rules and things like that, which I will get into.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm like, but why?
Asking why is a silly question that I never like to understand.
We're not going to go over why.
Yeah. Okay. So far, and other things to keep in mind, there has been 2 failed Supreme Court challenges with regards to Catholic school boards.
As in to attempt to close the Catholic school boards?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Okay.
All right.
2 failed because of the Great Compromise.
Because it still exists on the books, essentially.
Because when they came above the Supreme Court of Canada, both of them cited the Great Compromise, which, as of 1998, no longer was applicable because Quebec opted out of their Protestant school board system via vote, and now the Great Compromise isn't applicable because it's like, well, Quebec has to have Protestant, Ontario has to have Catholic.
Mm.
That's part of the deal. And now they're like, well, no, one doesn't have to have it, so why do we still have to have it, so to speak? Okay.
Way to go, Quebec.
Way to go, Quebec.
I'm saying that positively this time.
Right. Okay. Because I love questions to no end, apparently. What are the problems currently with regards to the Catholic system? The Catholic school board system as it stands in Ontario now?
Discrimination, maybe?
Discrimination.
I mean,
Like-
well,
Do you mean that...
who is allowed the students that are allowed to be enrolled in the school board? Is there any there's limitations when it comes to
Yes,
that, right?
there
That's
is
what I mean-
limitations.
that's what I mean by discrimination.
So the discrimination towards the students is as follows. If it's elementary school and you're not Catholic, you can technically be rejected from getting in, which goes against our Charter of Rights.
Yeah, exactly.
So how is that possible?
How is it possible that
We
the
can...
schools can still exist as a result of that?
Yeah. You think that would be knocked down right there. It would be easy to knock down.
Yeah, but there's got to be something. There's got to be something in legislation in Ontario that protects the status of the Catholic schools.
The Great Compromise came before the Charter. So it supersedes the Charter.
Okay, there you go.
Right?
But the Great Compromise isn't supposed to, or has Ontario just not revoked it
Yeah, we just haven't
officially yet.
we just haven't revoked our side of the agreement.
I see. Okay.
It's in the government. So it's not only the discrimination now. So it's elementary students that are applicable for the discrimination. Like they can be rejected on admission. High school students, however, aren't allowed to be, and that was how in '84 when they opened it up to the high schools and the funding for it, they said, well, everybody can enroll.
Mm.
One little known fact is that if you are a student in a Catholic school, you can opt out of the Catholicism in that school.
Yeah, I know that. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so you have to do some things to do that,
Yeah.
but you can still go to a Catholic school and not take Catholicism,
Right.
if you chose to.
Yeah.
But
and some people, I think some people prefer to send their kids to Catholic school because
well, there's different reasons.
there's a sense of, I think there's a sense of more, like not regimented per se, but you know what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah.
right?
Like generally speaking, I think we would both agree that Catholic schools and public schools, generally speaking, have about the same levels of skill involved with them. Like,
Yeah.
like they both graduate with the same material and they aren't necessarily inherently better or worse. And because
They have to meet the same requirements.
yeah, so I didn't see that there was a big shift there. Like, I mean, when I was in high school, I was like there were the Catholic school board, but it was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like they were so much better or so much worse. They were just the Catholic school board.
That's right.
That's it. So, and that's the true testament. If nobody really notices difference in the quality of education, nobody's challenging it of any kind, they're doing it right.
Yeah. Yep.
However, there is even more discrimination on hiring.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right? Because now a non-Catholic will have a very much harder time getting admission.
Yeah.
And more often than not get rejected. And that's discrimination,
Yes.
which is against our Charter of Rights. But they superseded because they came first.
Yeah.
Due to the Great Compromise.
Yes.
Okay. How much money do you think we could save if we amalgamated the two?
Well,
Just take a guess. Who cares?
the size of the overall education budget, I would hazard a guess that it would, in the grand scheme of things, it would probably only come out to maybe like a couple $100 million.
1.2 to 1.6 billion.
Okay. Well, I mean, and most of that is administrative.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have one less school, so to speak, then you don't have to have the busing, you don't have all the other side administration stuff, all that kind of stuff comes into play as well.
I would argue that you would probably still need the schools.
Yes, but you don't need the busing as much, for instance.
Maybe. Okay. I was thinking from the reason it wouldn't necessarily be so much is because it would be more like the administration from the school board.
Yeah, the school
Right.
board would include in that. But like
Yeah.
it's everything. When you have more schools available, you don't have to go as far to get the people to them, right? And especially for the Catholic school board, because you have to transport them sometimes from very far distance.
Yeah.
I'm not talking
Okay.
right? So that's what the cost is.
Right, exactly, because the Catholic schools are only in very specific locations, and
Right.
some kids could be getting bused from like 45 minutes or an hour away, maybe
right.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the big thing comes into play. So how much more per student does the average Catholic school board student get over a public school student?
It's like $500 or $600 per student.
$1,500 to $1,600.
Is it really that much?
Yes.
Huh.
And these are all estimations. I mean, like, I didn't go through all the data numbers and I didn't cross-reference for 5 different sources or anything like that. But I mean,
Right. Either way,
it's an amount.
They still get more. They still get more. And I know I've, with the whole teacher strike situation, I know that I saw some numbers that weren't necessarily that big of a gap, but it was still, Catholic schools were still getting more.
Yeah, that's right. And do other denominations get any funding of any kind?
No.
Right. Would you say that the statement that some services are lost as a direct result of there being two school boards, would you say that's true as well?
Loss of services?
Yes.
I would think so, because there's over administration as a result of separate school boards.
That's right.
Yeah.
So all these things are problems. I have thought of 6 different resolutions or ways we can solve the problem. I think you brought up one extra in like 4 seconds. What was your idea?
Oh,
you just said not amalgamate the actual schools themselves, but amalgamate the admission. The
yeah, it's the
administration.
administration. Yeah, exactly. Because, like I said, I mean, there's enough students that, like, I don't know exactly how many students go to the Catholic school here.
Well,
but it's
about 35% of the population.
right. So my thinking is you probably still need the school, which means you obviously need the teachers, but you don't need the administration at the school board itself. Or you might need some of the administration staff just because the one school board that ends up taking over the area would possibly need some additional administrative staff because there's now more students in the single school board, but it wouldn't need the entire administrative structure of a separate school board.
Okay, yeah. So you're looking at more of a hybrid. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine were a little more cut and dry. I do like yours.
Well,
I'll have to admit. But
yeah, I won't let it go to my head.
Yeah, okay.
Yet.
Okay, so basically what I came up with is 6 different resolutions. And we'll call Adam's the 7th one. Scrap the funding for the Catholic school board altogether and put all the resources into the public school system. That's option 1.
Yeah, and I mean...
okay, there's also another one that's on the table. This one, the first option could only be done through the government of Ontario.
Yep.
Realistically. Option number 2 is to bring it down to 1867 levels where only elementary schools were funded and at a lower rate than present.
That would be terrible.
Okay.
Simple as that.
There is a Supreme Court challenge going on right now that's specifically in regards to that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I did do my homework on this.
That's
right?
fine. It's like that just I mean, because like you said earlier, the funding back in 1867. I mean, I guess high schools, as it were, didn't necessarily exist back in 1867.
No, not really.
So I guess the question there is, if the elementary school funding goes back to say 1867 levels, obviously based with actual current dollars and stuff like that,
but it's based off a percentage of what they were getting from the budget, so to speak, as opposed to what they were currently getting.
Right. So, but I guess the secondary school level would still have to get funding based on what it gets as funding now, or it would just get unfunded.
It would get unfunded.
Wow.
Much like every other denomination.
So, okay, sure. All right.
Okay. Option 3, equalize the funding so that way Catholic school boards don't get any more funding per student. So,
which I think is right.
So right now they get $1,500 extra. We'll take that $15 extra, throw it out the window. A lot of it comes from residential property taxes.
Right.
And residential property taxes only make up 5% of the 35% of this population.
Right.
So bring it down to those levels.
Okay. Well, you could either do that, and as a result, possibly the school taxes on people's property taxes could go down, or you could just take all the money in a bucket and reallocate it equally, but still base it on the same amount of money. You could do it either way, I guess. You could either save the taxpayers money, or just give each child essentially gets a bigger piece of the budget. Or a more balanced piece of the budget. Yeah. Whatever.
Or you can do what John Tory proposed back in 2007, I think it was, and open funding to all denominations of every kind.
It's not going to work.
Oh, wait, he didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He actually retracted that. That was the best part. He was like, I'm going to propose this. Oh, it's terribly unpopular. I'm going to retract it.
Yes, exactly. Like within, a day or two kind of thing?
It was a week, I think.
It was a pretty short period of time.
It was brutal.
Yes.
Another option is to not take any restrictions off the board, but take any admission or job requirements off the board. So make it just basically making in line with the Charter of Rights.
Yeah, so that a non-Catholic teacher could apply for a job at a Catholic school and have an equal opportunity to get the job.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And option 6, of course, is do nothing.
Which is kind of, sort of, somewhat where we are right now.
Yeah, like basically
it's just status quo.
Not quote on.
Yeah.
And remember my first question, and you said no. That was your answer to it.
Right.
What do you think my answer is?
About getting rid of the Catholic school board?
Which option should I take?
Oh, which option should? Oh,
including
let me see your notebook. Let me see your notebook, and I'll kind of pick one from there. I would say that you would choose option 3.
You would be incorrect.
Then my second option would be option 5.
Nope.
Okay. Nah. Go ahead.
Option 6, do nothing. Do you know why?
Why?
Saving the government money, they're just going to spend it somewhere else, and why waste the political capital on doing it in the first place? You know I'm right. Like, I want to be like, okay, it's all great and all proper, but you know for a fact, we save that money, It's just going somewhere else. It's not going back into the system. It's going in somewhere else. Let's give them more tax breaks somewhere. That's all it's going to do. And how much political capital are you going to have to expend to get to that point to do nothing? They're not going to get more money.
Okay.
You think that the Ford government is going to give more money to the teachers?
Well,
you
no,
think
obviously not.
Or the students, for that matter? They're going to look at that $1.2 billion thing and be like, oh, we can give our corporate friends more money.
It's unfortunate how right you are. Like,
right?
That's what I mean? That's why I'm holding my face in my hands. I'm like, you're right. You are. I don't want you to be right, but you are.
What I went in there was like, okay, you know something? I'm going to prove that it's wrong. I'm going to make sure I know exactly what to do. And then I actually took a step back and like, wait, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's just like when they came up with like the lottery and gambling and all that stuff, all this money was supposed to go into our services.
But Mike, they have to get rid of the deficit. So to get rid of the deficit, they need to find cuts in the system. If they close down the Catholic School Board, you just said they could save $1.2 to $1.6 billion. They could shrink the deficit. No tax breaks required. The tax breaks won't happen. They got to get rid of the deficit. Fiscal conservatives, don't you know?
Here's about God. I remember doing some research on this topic, and I went down a wormhole where I found out that. Do you know that we're subsidizing horse racing right now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
what?
That was honestly, that was like one of the first things. Like I think it was within that first 3 months after the election in 2018 that the government decided, hey, we're going to put money back in horse racing.
I couldn't believe it.
Why?
I was blown away.
Why?
Like,
that's the priority to put money into is horse racing?
I'm not saying the people who breed horses. I'm not talking about the people that run horses. All that stuff. That is all good. Like, there's a lot of people that do a lot of good with horses and have a real passion for it. All that stuff is great. But I'm sorry, it's horse racing. If it can't figure a way out to fund itself, it should die.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's free market capitalism that I like. Subsidizing things like this just drives me nuts.
I know this is now off the topic of the public school,
Catholic
school system, but whatever. We're talking about government funding. From the clients that I've dealt with that have horses, I would say none of them, zero, are making money. And this is including they're not into horse racing. Most of them were like show and stuff like that, right?
Right.
This is including someone running like a stable training arena that generated over $1 million in revenue a year. No profit.
Yeah.
So why do we fund from taxpayer money the horse racing industry?
I don't get it. I don't get it.
You know how you fund the horse racing industry? You get people interested in the horse racing industry, and maybe they will gamble more, and the money can come from the gambling. That's what OLG does with lotteries. They take the profits from the lotteries and put them into whatever funding the government needs to put them into, and charitable givings and blah 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 this and blah 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 that.
Yeah, I have no problems with them running it. I have a problem with them being subsidized because gambling at its core is not it. I can understand it can be fun and things like that, but it is, one could argue, morally corrupt.
Yeah.
And it's not the one person who's gambling every once in a while. Horse racing, I mean, if you go to the event and you have a good time, I can understand that 100%. But there are problem people that have real addictions to it. So, yeah.
So to pull it back, it's we're funding horse racing, but in order to fund the horse racing, well, we have to cut from education and healthcare.
Yeah.
The things that are kind of affect more people in this province.
Yep.
Yeah, let's cut funding to the things that affect everybody that lives here, as opposed to the things that affect less than 1% of the population, and also include people that come from out of the country. Because keep in mind, when it comes to the horse racing, it's not all local.
No, not all Canadian, especially, or Ontarian for that matter.
Right, exactly.
It can come from provinces and other countries.
Well, they'd be coming, you'd get people coming here with horses from New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, no problem, right? It's drivable. But yeah,
Yeah, this is why I say political capital, right? Political capital is a thing. Like I know, oftentimes in previously on this podcast, I haven't looked at the political capital as a thing, but political capital really and truly is a thing.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
And if you're going to do something, I think you should be worth merit. So I can see option 5 being what, but realistically, you're going to butt heads with so many different people, especially Catholic graduates. That are now sitting MPs or influencers within the government itself, that is not worth it. It's just not worth it for $1.2 billion in savings. I know I throw that number around like as if I have it in my back pocket, but
but you're also talking $1.2 billion on a province that generates about $200 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
Right. Again, like it's what is that?
Just
a bit over 0.5%.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot. They wouldn't reallocate the funding so much as they would figure out some way else to spend that money.
That's right. So it's not worth it. It's so not worth it. I wish it was, but it's not.
So your resolution is the Catholic school board stays.
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
every part of it just drives me nuts, but yeah, it does. Until we get courageous politicians, yeah, it's got to stay. Let me know when that happens. I've seen some.
Yeah.
They usually get beat down. Like even John Tory. John Tory, when he promoted the funding to everyone, that was a courageous thing he did. He was one of the most courageous politicians. He wanted funding for all denominations, and he ran in a riding that he lost.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to say, listen, either I win this riding and we win the province, or I lose this riding and we lose the province.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, dude. It sucks that you lost, but
no, I mean, it's okay. He became the mayor of Toronto.
Yeah.
And that's now why we have Doug Ford as the premier of Ontario.
Well, Doug Ford would be
part of the reason, I guess.
Doug Ford would be the premier of could potentially be the mayor of Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wow, that would be a good sideshow for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than something that I have to directly deal with.
If Doug Ford had won had become the mayor of Toronto, I mean, there was still a possibility that he would have jumped into the PC leadership situation anyways. Okay, so public school versus Catholic school. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a proponent of, I don't feel like there should be the separate school board, but yeah,
personal opinion.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Personal opinion, correct. Logically, no. That's the problem.
All right. There you go. Maybe, just maybe, nothing will happen.
Like breaking news across CBC News Network.
That's right. That's right.
Breaking news. Nothing occurred. Carry about your deck.
Anyways, that's been Poutine Politics for another day. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.